The second video on my VST synthesizer, the Pulsor. In the first video we managed to build a 64-bit version of the Pulsor using C++ Builder, and in this video we are going to have a walk around how the Pulsor works, because it's a new kind of synthesizer that you certainly won't be familiar with it, and then we're going to write a piece of music using it by way of testing it. And I've already started to have some ideas for this piece of music, and that's what you have been listening to for the past minute or so. So without further ado, let's have a look at how the Pulsor works and what it does. Okay, so let's take a little look at the Pulsor. I'll try and explain why it looks like it does. Firstly, I guess it annoys me why virtual synthesizers, basically computer programs, have to look like synthesizers in boxes with knobs and in most cases seemingly pretend screw heads around the outside. So I decided to go for something that looks like nothing you would see made, and I guess in that design brief you have to agree I've succeeded. And another thing you see on virtual synthesizers is knobs, like drawn graphic control knobs, which are actually working with a mouse. And while a knob is convenient to work with your hand, because your hand will rotate on your wrist, that's a natural movement, a mouse tends to move side to side or upside down, so I've gone with side to side. So let's look at the envelope 1, sustain. You just drag the mouse either way to move it, and if you drag the mouse slowly you can adjust it very accurately. It's not really so useful on a sustain, but on other things is, and if you move it quickly it moves quickly, and you get a graphic indication of where it is in the middle and the precise value at the bottom, and they're all like that. And it's color coded sections, so Pulsor 1, Pulsor 2, Phasor, Formant, envelopes and LFOs, they're all color coded. And these modulators, so this is the Pulsor 1 amplitude, and you can see it's now modulated with envelope 1 here, and that picks the modulation source. That gives, this box gives the modulation, and this number gives the actual modulation amount, and you get 3 per parameter, and they're greyed out if they're not in use. So if I want to add LFO1 to that, it works like that. Easy peasy. So now shall we have a look at the basic sound generation systems, which consists of 2 pulsors, a phasor and a formant generator. Okay, firstly a bit of disambiguation. The whole synthesizer is called the Pulsor, and the basic sound generation unit, which we're going to look at here, is called a Pulsor, of which there are 2. So currently Pulsor 2 is off, nothing providing any amplitude, so nothing will come out. Pulsor 1's amplitude is simply provided by envelope 1, which basically turns it on and off, and its spectrum is provided by envelope 2. So it starts high, the spectrum value starts high and decays away to nothing. So if we play this sequence, which is 1 note only, we get we get a sound, as you can hear, rich in harmonics. And if we look at that sound in the trusty Cool Edit, when it starts we just get a series of pulses, but these aren't just any old pulses, they are half a sine wave, starting at the bottom where the slope is actually 0, so there's no sharp transition between the flat bit and the pulse, and going back to 0. So okay, that's the start, and we just get pulses, so that gives us a rich spectrum. Right, so if we look at a few more and we go on, remember this spectrum value was being reduced by the envelope, so we can see here the flat bit is very short and most of it is the sine wave, and we get to here and it's all sine waves, so we'll only have one harmonic. So this is actually a very efficient way of creating an oscillator, because we simply play through one sine wave sample, and the richer spectrum we want, the faster we play through it, and when we've played through it we simply output 0. And if you've seen the tutorial series on making a conventional synthesizer oscillator to produce ramp and square waves, you'll know this is an awful lot simpler and produces a very controllable sound spectrum. Okay, let's have a look at the phasor, which is sort of named after the old phaser effect. So it's basically a delay, but the delay can be set to be very short, less than one cycle of the pulsor that's input into it. The delay can be tuned to track the pitch, so as you play different notes, any effect caused by the phasor can be constant. I mean, it doesn't have to track the pitch, but it can. And down here in the mixer we can either have straight pulse or phasor inverted, or phasor in the same phase. We will see that in a minute. So I've set up this little sound which just drives the pulsor in, and the phasor takes its input from the pulsor, this pulsor here. Now, so if I play that, and I've set up the mixer to be automated, so you can hear the change of tone as the mixer mixes the phasor in inverted, goes through the straight pulsor and starts mixing in the phasor in the same sense. So shall we see what that looks like in terms of waveforms? So here is what you've just heard. And if we look at the negative, so that is the pulse and this is the output of the phasor, and then you can see it's appearing in the opposite phase shortly after. And if we go along here, so if we look about here, okay, we'll say we just have the pulsor on its own, and if we grab this and slide this along, you can say here we have the output of the phasor in the same sense as the pulsor. Okay, the phasor also has feedback, so if you're familiar with a delay, they usually have feedback, a kind of echo thing, so it goes dun 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 dun. But here the feedback, because the phasor time is short, the feedback tends to make sort of metallic ringing effects. So here I've just added some feedback driven by LFO1, so if we play this, so you can hear the feedback coming in and out. If we look at this, the waveform of that, and get a bit of this, so a bit further, yes, you can see these are the Pulsor pulses repeated with diminishing amplitude and overlapping, obviously. So as you can see, we are getting here quite a complex waveform, and if we scan through it, we can see the waveform changes with the feedback setting, and that can be used from quite subtle coloration effects to quite radical ringing effects, and rather than trying to understand what's going on, it's probably better just to play with the settings and see what sounds good. I suppose the same goes for everything. Right, let us have a look at the formant. So a formant is a term used for voice synthesis, where the vocal cords produce a wide spectrum, and the vocal tract, your nose and throat, etc., etc., form a number of bandpass filters, and the frequency of each of these bandpass filters is a formant. Don't plan to get into that here, but that's where the term comes from. And the formant generator works with Pulsor 1 to create a sort of frequency band. So in this first example, I am moving the formant pitch, and down here we have a spectrum analyzer, so you will see the spectrum going up and down as I do it. Okay, so that's how the formant pitch affects that spectrum of that band, and the Pulsor spectrum controls the width of the band, as in this example. Okay, and there you have it, the basics of how the formant generator works. And the reason I have done a very perfunctory trip round the Pulsor's sound generation system is because, well, here we have the website, mavericksynth.crispid.com, the Pulsor. And there'll be links in the description and on the screen and here, there and everywhere. And if we go in there, that's the video that I put up last week, and if we go into the tutorials page, there we go. There are some YouTube videos, and ignore the first one, the installation one, because that is redundant for the latest version, which will just be zipped up. Okay, let's get on and make some music with the Pulsor. Okay, so I have here basically what I had to record the intro to this video with. So we have they're both 8 bars of 7/8 long, and I have, if I can just shut everything off, hang on. Okay, and that one is going to get modified so it actually fits in, doesn't fit in there. That's just, I was working on that brass one. So what I've decided to do is, after, I suppose, Philip Glass, Steve Reich sort of minimalism, is I'm going to take those two 8-bar sequences and change them, duplicating them, change them slightly, and duplicate them and change them slightly, so no 8-bar sequence is going to be exactly the same as any other in the whole piece, and it's going to evolve somehow. And I've also I'm trying to use the little demo sequences that go with the Pulsor, with the various stands I'm using in the Pulsor, and sort of adapt them to the piece. So for instance, the Blipper, which is what the piece is got itself named after. If I hit the demo, that is not dissimilar to and so with the bass and with the So what I'm going to do now is fix this brass sound, hopefully, so it works, and push on and start to generate the start of this piece, and I'll let you have a look at how I get on a bit further on. Okay, so I have now got basically 3 basic 8-bar bits, sequences, call them what you like, which are the just the bell piano, the bass and the bipper going fast, and we have the lead going, and the brass sound, which I was talking about in the previous clip. And here I have variations of these all organised in a row, and they all play one after each other. So live, got it because you can do all this sort of live selecting clips and sort of improvising against it, and here I am just using it as a basic sequencer. So it goes. And the idea that each of these is going to be different. There are no two going to be the same. And I have here a scruffy bit of paper which is the running order, which I've just decided, and whether I'll stick to that I don't know. Okay, so time is getting on and this video is taking ages to do, and this piece of music isn't finished yet, and this video was more about getting the Pulsor out there and available than actually writing a piece of music. So what I shall do is finish the piece of music and get some video together for it and put that out as a separate video. In the meantime, this is just where I've got, and what I've got so far is what you are listening to, so it may well not differ from the final piece. So here we are. This is the Maverick Synth web page. So if you wish to download the Pulsor, you go into Products, the Pulsor Downloads. Now the PC version is the one I have updated. You get the manual bundled in with it, but you can download the manual. The Mac version did work a lot of years ago, may well not work on the modern Mac, may suffer from being 32 bits on a 64-bit system, but I can't really justify the expense of buying a new Mac for something I'm giving away. So if there's anybody out there who has a Mac who can rebuild it, a new version for the Mac, I'm happy to pass the code on to them for them to do that. So yeah, let me know via the usual channels. See the comments. And here we go. So if you want to download the Pulsor, you just click on that little button there. A page for OneDrive, because I've put it in OneDrive rather than putting it on the host, because I intend to retire that host because it's costing me money, and there's money I don't really want to spend. So yeah, that's Firefox telling me it's downloaded. So if I now go into, it should be up here, and here it is in the download folder, and if we open it up, we've got a thing that's saying it's generated by JZip, fair enough. And we've got the readme text, which has just release information. We've got the DLL, which you put in your 64-bit plugins folder, and we've got the manual, which you can put wherever you like. And there is also a link directly into the OneDrive in the comments. So I think that will about do it for this video. Okay, so please download the Pulsor and try it out. I think it sounds original and interesting, and I hope it inspires you to make some different music. And if there are any bugs you find, or any comments or requests, please get in touch, because it's sort of transmogrified into an ongoing project. So if somebody asks, oh, can you make it do this? Well, I'll try and make it do this, and I will attempt to finish that blipper piece off in the next few days and stick some kind of video with it and put that out as well. So for now, that's it from Tripplikit, and see you on the next one. Goodbye.